All the things that you see in Portland that are so embarrassing, it's not exactly draws a lot of people who want to move here. They allowed the Occupy Portland people to take over in front of City Hall.
I was in the middle of that.
No, I bet you were.
I was in the middle of that. I got injured, thrown into a bus, and all. Yeah, I was in the.
Were you there when they finally got him out of there?
Oh yeah, I was there too. I was down that one. I remember
that was one of the best police moves I've ever seen. That was pretty cool.
I'm Jeff Helfrich, State Representative for House District 52. Life's messy, government's messy. When I was on the street, I got to see what worked and what didn't work. And in Salem, I see a lot of things that aren't working. I want to cut through that red tape, get to simpler government, and get to stuff that works for you. Here's our next episode. That's perfect, right?
132 in Bush, I got him at gunpoint.
Are we ready? All right. Back to Basics Army. Thanks for joining me again. I have a guest. His name is Dee Burch. Dee, thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for the invitation.
So I always do a bio in front of people, but just one thing, what do you think back to basics means in government?
Well, in Oregon, that's a pretty big subject, but
yeah, it is.
The nonsense that I listen to daily and reading the Oregonian and similar to our discussion earlier, when I was a paper boy when I was 10, so I picked up the habit of reading the paper every day, and I still do that from cover to cover.
Do they still have? I didn't know they still had newspapers out there.
Well, I do the digital.
Okay, there we go.
But I used to be. That's actually how I learned about business. I was a 10-year-old delivering papers, and the Oregonian would sell me the papers, and then it was my job to deliver the papers and collect the money. So, you're a 10-year-old kid, and you're getting paid like, I don't know, $10 a month to do this. And if somebody didn't pay you, that came out of my end, not the Oregonian's end. The Oregonian got paid. They charged me for the papers.
No matter what they're getting,
it was my job to sell them.
Wow.
So, I learned how to collect money. I learned how to, customer service. I learned, how to deal with people. And I didn't realize it at the time, but it's really been a huge benefit to me getting that lesson at a really young age. It was so basically just common sense and not, focusing on the mission and not getting, I think in Oregon that we're just way too polite. We listen to people talk nonsense all the time. Yeah. And you don't have to be rude, but you don't have to act like you believe it either. I think there needs to be more people that disagree, challenging each other, having a discussion, trying to find areas of common ground, but not just accepting. When somebody says, hey, we're going to get rid of fossil fuels in 3 years. It's like, really? You honestly believe that is possible? Tell me how that's going to happen, instead of just accepting that that's a logical statement. It's not. Right. So force them to explain to you how that happens instead of just drinking the Kool-Aid and saying it.
Yeah, I always ask people when I hear those things, it's like, so what color is the sky in your world? Because it looks pretty rosy from your glasses, I'm guessing. And stuff. So, yeah. So, Dee, what I usually do is take a bio or have your bio, and I'll read that, make sure I get it right. If I get something wrong, please let me know.
Oh, sure.
And then I'm always, because I am fallible, I make sure I try to do my best research as I possibly can, but there's sometimes I just kind of miss stuff. So anyway, Dee, thanks for being on the show today. You are the president and CEO of Advanced American Construction and Gunderson Marine, LLC in Portland. A 1978 Oregon State University civil engineer graduate. You have 45 years of experience in heavy construction, leading projects that earned national awards like the 2011 Grand Prize for the Lake Oswego Interceptor Sewer Project. You also served in the Westland City Council. You lead the Swisher Scholarship Fund.
It's Schweiger.
Schweiger.
That's no problem.
Schweiger Scholarship Fund, and you chairs the ACG, the Association of General Contractors, Oregon Columbia Chapter Legislative Committee, advocating for infrastructure and workforce development. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
All right. So what I want to do is kind of explore your journey from being an OUS grad and then leading major construction projects and serving, saving, I think 300 jobs in Gunderson.
300 when we started. We're up to about 360 now. We're
But
hiring, we're hiring about 10 a month.
Yeah, that's awesome, right? So, all right. So you graduated from Oregon State in 1978, civil engineering degree. You worked for Kiewit. There we go. Kiewit specific. Working on projects like the Broadway Pier in San Diego. Those early days in those projects and stuff, how did that help you guide your leadership philosophy or principles with advanced American construction?
Well, I graduated in 1978, which was probably the worst economic time since the Great Depression. It was right in the middle of Jimmy Carter's presidency, so we had massive inflation, massive unemployment. Interest rates were like 17, 18%, and Oregon was still making the switch from being primarily an agricultural and forestry industry to where we are today. So there really weren't any jobs in Oregon. So it wasn't like I had a brilliant plan, but I was hired by an Oregon State grad that worked for Chicago Bridge and Iron. He hired me for $305 a week right out of college. There wasn't a lot of negotiation about what he was going to pay me. It was, and that required me to move to Salt Lake City. And after that, for about 12 years, I moved probably 15 times, and I worked all over the Western U.S. And so I didn't realize it at the time, but it was a tremendous learning experience to be dropped out of my little environment where I grew up in McMinnville and, had a very sheltered life. I had almost no travel, not a lot of exposure to a lot of other situations, and being dropped into Salt Lake City, dropped into LA, dropped into San Francisco, dropped into Seattle, dropped into Colorado, and with no acquaintances, didn't know anybody, and just dropped into a team to build projects, and then, trying to develop relationships really quickly, learn the local economy, try to figure out how to get things done, became second nature to me because I had to do it so many times. It's a little bit like being a military brat.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like that. You don't get a pick where you go, you just get dropped into somewhere.
Yeah.
And so that I've realized now that where change is hard for virtually everyone, but for me it's not, because all I change is what I do. I mean, we build projects, we demolish old bridges and put new ones in. Everything that I do is about change. And then having been exposed to all these different cities and different cultures and different ways of doing things, I think I've learned something from each one of them and kind of piece it together. So, there's not a lot of problems that I haven't at least been exposed to in the past. So, and when I was young and didn't know what I was doing, I made lots of mistakes. So I got lots of chances to figure out how to fix things.
Right.
And so over time, I've developed the ability to kind of stay out of trouble, avoid problems. And it's just been, it's really a blessing. I mean, I had no idea that's the way it was going to go. I know, similar to your twists and turns in your career and different things, things kind of fall into place and they just happen the way they happen. But I'm incredibly blessed to be able to learn from all those things and then put them to work here at Advanced American and at Gunderson.
You kind of said that a little bit, learning from your mistakes. It's like when you stub your toe, what did you learn from it? Right. So what was a mistake that you learned from? It's like, whether it was leadership or running a business or just simple communication.
When I worked for Kiewit and I was working on the West Seattle Bridge, and the company is now a huge, incredibly, it's the largest national general contractor in the country. At the time that I was working for them, they were still in a really rapid growth mode. So I was hired and given a tremendous amount of responsibility that I didn't deserve because there was nobody else to do it. I mean, they didn't have a seniority list, and a lot of people had been there they were growing rapidly, so they were hiring people. So I was given this responsibility, and I was given a task to drive some sheet pile to build a bridge pier. And the specifications said that I needed to drive them a certain distance into the ground in order for it to be structurally okay. Well, we used everything that we had, and we didn't get them all the way to the elevation that they were called for. And so in the interest of keeping things going, and the fact that, well, hey, obviously we can't drive them that far, so it must be good enough. The soil is incredibly stiff. It must be good enough. So we started to excavate the thing, and it collapsed. And so, I contacted my district manager and told him 100% my fault. It's my deal. I just made a judgment, didn't know what I was doing, made a huge mistake. I guess you're going to fire me. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, I deserve to be fired. He's like, there's nobody better than somebody who screwed up that bad. They'll never do that again.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, no, get your ass back out there and fix it. And so, I think I learned a lot from that, in that, we were talking earlier, I try to lead that a similar way, and giving people the mission and then allowing them to make mistakes and not beating them over the head for it. I want them to take chances. I want them to make mistakes so they get better.
Yeah, you have to make mistakes, because if you just do everything perfect, you don't ever know what, one, failure feels like, and how do you recover from that, or two, actually I am doing things wrong, even though I thought I was doing it perfect, and nobody ever stepped up to say something to me. And that's a great story where you had this big screw up. It's like, well, you're not going to do it again, so go out and fix your problem.
Right.
Thanks, boss.
Yeah. Well, it was, I was very fortunate to have somebody that, and he had been given his position at a very young age, and he'd made lots of mistakes. So, I put two and two together after listening to it, but I just assumed I was unemployed.
Yeah. I think we don't realize it at the time. And I don't know your relationship with that district manager that you had, but he took the opportunity to say, this is what's going on. And whether you looked at him as a mentor or not, but it was a learning moment. And I've had those people in my life too, because I have stubbed my toe more times, as a young man, and as an older adult like I am, even stubbing my toe here in the legislative sessions. It happens, and ask for grace and don't make the same mistake again. You press on and you fix it. Mm-hmm. Nobody's taking your birthday away, so you're doing okay, right?
Well, sun comes up in the morning.
It comes up and it sets. When it doesn't come up and set, well, your birthday's gone. So, so Advanced American, you have been there for 30 years. You won an award in 2011 for Lake Oswego Sewage Project. Is that right?
Yeah,
What is that about?
Well, the Lake Oswego Interceptor Sewer Project is a really interesting project. Lake Oswego is a man-made lake that sits in a major rock formation, and there's tons of very unstable soil that sits on top of the rock formation. And when the city was put in their sewer system originally, they dewatered the lake, and they went down and drove piling and put concrete in to support their sewer system, and it sat on the bottom of the lake. So over the years, with settling, and thankfully there wasn't a seismic event which would have collapsed the whole thing instantly, but there was leakage.
They would add more organics.
They had plenty of organics. They had lots of leaks. The city of Lake Oswego didn't talk a lot about it, but there was sewage leaking into the lake all the time.
That's probably why they didn't want any private boaters out there.
Well,
or swimmers.
Now yeah, that's right.
I digress. Sorry.
No. I have friends that are very passionate about that issue.
Yeah.
So they needed to solve. They needed to replace the sewer, and there was no easy solution. Dewatering the lake for a long period of time was not an option. The residents wouldn't put up with it. There's the highest price real estate in the state there, and the idea that we would take and drain it for a year was not an option. So we worked with the city for probably 10 years to come up with ideas, and they came up with an idea to take HDPE pipe, which is basically plastic pipe, and tether it to the rock on the bottom. And because it shrinks and expands with temperature dramatically, put it in kind of like a sinus wave configuration, and that it also had they didn't want to pump the sewage. They wanted it to drain by gravity. So we had to put all this in within like a 1/4 inch grade all the way through
A
here.
slope, yeah.
So we had to drill into rock 200 feet and then tether the pipe and situate the pipe in there to do that. And so it was it was kind of a signature job. It was a once in a lifetime thing. I mean, nobody would do that intentionally. It was the restraints, the constraints on the project required an innovative solution that I doubt anybody else will do because they don't have that situation. But we did that job, and the national AGC recognized that as the most significant project in the country that year. And we're the only contractor based in Oregon that's ever won that award.
Wow. That kind of reminds me of, so when I was, throughout my 25 years as a police officer, I had numerous assignments. And one of them was when the Police Bureau contracted, or TriMet contracted with the Portland Police Bureau, and they were doing the tunneling project underneath the zoo. Mm-hmm. And we got to watch, they brought in the boring machines and did the whole boring thing. And they showed all the core samples. And what was kind of neat about the core samples were they showed where the samples were at in this series of the Earth's timeline and stuff. And you talked about a unique project, and that was a unique project that all I did was just watch it and get, stalactite or stalagmite, which one was it, hanging? Right. That's about the best I got out of that. But it's just seeing projects like that and the engineering that you guys would do on that project or anything. It's just incredible. The powerful mind that's there, and how do you figure out these problems out?
Well, it's kind of humbling, but when you look, back, like the St. John's Bridge, the original interstate bridge, one of them was built in 1917, mm-hmm. the other one in 1958. And you look at what people did in that time when they didn't have access to the technology, the larger equipment, and they found a way to build projects that last for up to 100 years. It's
Hood River Bridge.
Well, yeah, when you're not bumping into the curb.
You don't have,
We've actually done a bunch of work, repairing and band-aiding the Hood River Bridge.
And they just had another boo-boo. A little barge hit one of the pilings. Oh,
yeah. No, I have a lot of respect for the Port of Hood River and what they're doing out there. It's just really humbling to, like the St. John's Bridge. I mean, that is an unbelievable feat of engineering that's still stable and viable and working right now. And it was built by people without the luxury of all this technology and all these
modern
data
equipment.
Yeah.
And stuff, right?
Yeah. So it's I think it just makes you understand that, there's not a whole lot that's not possible if you just put your mind to it with all the tools that we have now. And if you reference what people did without all these tools, it's really kind of aggravating to me when, we'll have a team member or owner or somebody say, well, we can't do that. That's impossible. Well, don't tell me that, because look over here, look over there. It may not be obvious to you how to solve this, but there's a way.
Right. Just gotta use your brain.
Use our brain. Let's think about the project and not just, rely on what's worked or what we last did or, what we've done in the last 5 years. Think beyond that. Go way beyond that, because it's incredible what people can accomplish when they put their minds to it and they have a common mission.
Right. So you mentioned something, use your brain, or I've said use your brain and, kind of take the basic building blocks. Do you see right now an intersection with AI in construction and how in design process where that's a tool that can be used to help, or is that a hindrance, or do you have any thoughts on that? I know it's just a kind of random question.
No, it's
because we hear a lot about AI and stuff. And there's a lot of good things I see coming out of it.
just scratching the surface of trying to figure out how to use it. And I've been blown away at how easy it is to use. And I mean, I've had people demo really sophisticated, putting videos together and pasting people's heads on bodies and having them speak foreign languages and all things that I don't know what good that is, but they do all kinds of things.
There's like this little baby podcast. They have people's voices. I saw that. I was like, whoa, that's a good podcast. Little AI generated babies talking the podcast. Like, so what's going on? My homies from my diaper homies and stuff. Wow.
Those are pretty funny, but simple things like, I just have a business issue, it's like, hey, I want to bring an in-house counsel on board. What should I pay them? How does it work? What's their package look like? What's the profile of somebody that's good at that?
Right.
And I just, go on the basic AI and put it in there, and it comes up with a 10-page document that looks like it's took 100 hours to put together by somebody who knew what the hell they were doing. And it's not perfect, but it's a hell of a good start.
It's a blueprint, right?
It gets you
It's a good draft.
headed towards a solution.
Right.
I mean, you can't rely on it too heavily because I find Google yourself and you'll find things in there that are wrong.
Oh yeah. Well, trust me, I have. Like,
I'm not sure you have.
Yeah.
And so it's not infallible, but it's unbelievably useful. And, back in the day when if you had a legal question or something, the only way you could get it was by talking to an attorney and having him go to his library and pull out his case laws and use his templates and everything to get it to you. Well, I have access to all that without them.
Right.
And so it just makes you be able to focus on the things that only you can do and not be hung up on the things that you're reliant on other folks to give to you.
Right. So I want to reverse. A couple of years ago, you took over Gunderson Marine in 2023.
Yes, sir.
And you saved 300 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to, that lead in my next question, but talk about that. What did that mean? And what has been your philosophy with Gunderson Marine? Because is it the same as Advanced American Construction, or what's the nexus to there, or how did you just explain that process?
Sure. No, Gunderson Marine has been around since 1919.
It's been a couple minutes.
It's been a while, and it's been through some ownership changes, but it was kind of a powerhouse industrial manufacturing plant. For many years, it built barges and rail cars, and at one time there were 2,000 people working there, and they would build up to 24 rail cars at a single every working day, and they were building barges at the same time.
Is that right there by St. John's, or where's the Gunderson Marine?
It's about 2 miles upstream from St. John's.
Okay.
It's right on Northwest Front Street.
Okay.
2 miles upstream of St. John's Bridge. And at Advanced American Construction, we're a marine heavy civil general contractor. Well, they had docks and they had launchways they used to put their barges in the water. And so we did work there, and I knew the company really well, and I always had a great respect for the company and just what they did and the way they did it and the quality of their people, the culture there. So they became a big publicly traded company that was called Greenbrier, still Greenbrier, that was 100% focused on railcar manufacturing and leasing. And the barge part of it became the only place in the company that it was done was there, and it was a very small part of the corporate portfolio. So they decided that Portland was not a viable place for them to continue to build rail cars because of the wages, the regulation, the environmental issues, just many, many things.
All the things that are driving businesses out of our state.
And they chose to move their manufacturing, even though the Gunderson plant had the best productivity in their entire portfolio of, man hours per rail car produced. They had by far the best productivity. They had the best trained workers. They had the best technology. They were incredibly good at what they did. They ended up taking the operation and moving it. Some of it went to Mexico and some of it went to Arkansas. And then they have plants all over the world, so they're international too. They decided they were going to sell the facility. And they had a couple of barge contracts that they had taken on that were going to take another year and a half or 2 years to finish. And so they really wanted to sell to somebody who could take over the operation and finish those barge contracts. And you can imagine that if you have several hundred workers and you tell them, hey, we really need you to get this job done, and then when you're done, you're laid off.
Yeah.
It's not a real healthy environment, and morale is really pretty tough. So I never dreamed that it was even a remote possibility that I could become an owner there, but circumstances worked out, and sometimes in life it's better to be lucky than good, and it just happened that I was in a position where I could act on it. And I'm a huge believer in maintaining industrial jobs and construction jobs, and jobs that don't require a college degree. I'm a huge believer in the value of that. And so the opportunity, and then knowing how great the people were that worked there, and just not the idea of that thing being shuttered and it would turn into a homeless camp within days of it being shuttered and being destroyed, of something that was built since 1909. All the people and the blood, sweat, and tears that went into building that place, to see it
Generations of people, yeah.
to see it destroyed, I couldn't do that. So irrationally, instead of quietly going into retirement and cashing checks, I risked everything I had to invest in this. And so far, it's worked fabulous. The people that we have there, we've stayed, almost every single person that was there on the day we bought it is still there. Not everyone, but almost everyone. A handful have retired and a couple have left. And we're adding about 10 people a month now. We have a training program where we take anybody who's willing to learn and train them how to weld, and then put them to work, and they get paid from the first hour they work. They get paid to be taught how to weld, and then we find a place for them. We've been having great success doing that. It's the whole attitude towards the idea that you have to go to college to be successful right out of high school is changing. I mean, we have people that within a year or two, they can be making $100,000 a year, have no debt. They're paid for every minute they work, and they're paid to be trained.
So I want to come back to that. And so, because you kind of touched on a couple things. One, do you find, what is your retention rate when you're training people in welding, of people staying in the program and staying with you, or is there a contract they sign, or how does that work?
There's no contract.
Because I know, like the police bureau, you go basically, you're poaching other officers that just as they're getting off probation or completed their contract with the agency for 2 years and trying to get them to work for Portland or wherever it's at. So I just was curious your retention rate and how that's worked out for you, and is people jumping ship and going somewhere else, or is it working out pretty good for you?
Right now, it's working really well. We probably have an 80 to 90% retention rate. Not everybody's cut out for it. So they go into the training, and it's just, this isn't for me.
Yeah, at least they tried.
But there's other people that will go in and get the training, and then, hey, somebody will give me $2 an hour more, and so I'm going to take off. And that's okay. I mean, there's a real shortage of qualified workers, and, we look at it like, obviously it's America. I can't force anybody to continue to work for me. We don't want anybody who doesn't want to be there. So, but we've got about an 80 to 90% retention rate, and they also, our average tenure is 15 to 25 years. We have a bunch of people that have been there 35 years. They worked their whole adult life there. And so it's got like a family-like feel to it. And so we have unbelievable diversity. You hear about DEI programs and things. We don't have a DEI program. Right. All we do is, if you want to work and you want to work hard and you want to carry your weight, you're in.
Right.
we'll put you in a spot. And so we have 14 different languages spoke in our 350 employees.
Wow. So you, Gen Weld, the window company down in Southern Oregon, just laid off 128 people, I think it was. And we've seen around 10,000 manufacturing jobs leave Oregon over the years. And Portland's, you don't see much in Portland. You've mentioned it, but construction and fabrication in Oregon seems like it's declining. Where do we need to be as a state, the city of Portland, whoever, to kind of, we talked about the back to basics, but why are, you kind of touched on it with the Gunderson, why they left, but what other things are out there that are just making us so business unfriendly? And you've got, because manufacturers, we have to build something. We can't be building things on sand. It just can't be a tech industry, and you can stay home and be on, do your TikTok and whatever, think you're going to make $100,000.
Right.
You got to have people to work.
That's a great question. I think there's so many things working against us in Portland. I mean, highest marginal tax rate in the country in Multnomah County. You really never get the feeling that either a city, county, or state agency is concerned about trying to help you be competitive and help people get work. It's more about regulating you, and frankly, you feel like you're just a cash register to the legislature and to the city.
Mm-hmm.
They just look at the business. It's like, oh my gosh, you guys are building all this work and you're doing all these things. What can we do to tax that and redirect the money that you're generating and put it into other things?
Like
just
homeless camps.
Well, Well, we're in a big industrial area and we're surrounded by industrial property, but we're also surrounded by homeless camps. We have that right next door. Homeless camps. The addiction issues, all the things that you see in Portland that are so embarrassing. It's not exactly draws a lot of people who want to move here.
Right. I remember when I came to the Bureau after I got out of the first Gulf War and became a police officer, 92, they said it didn't seem like it rained very much because they were kind of in a drought, and they said they had a gang problem. And I went, huh. Well, the gang problem was there, but it rained a lot. But the city was, was revitalized. They were coming out of the depression in the, those 80s and moving forward, and the Pearl projects and the Pearl district and all those things. And it's a really cool city. But then these so far left liberal policies, people, it was more of giving handouts than hand ups, and people just kept coming here for handout. And COVID and all this other stuff, it's just law enforcement, got their hands tied. And you talk about the homeless camps. Have you experienced any public safety issues with that industrial area and your businesses out there, whether it's with Advanced American or with Gunderson?
We're surrounded by industrial properties, and at Gunderson, we have 24/7 security. So we're, our people routinely are having to chase homeless away, people that are looking to
steal
get on
everything
the
they can
property and
find.
steal everything
Right.
and drag copper wire off the project and everything. But we've been able to fend that off because we're surrounded by industrial properties and the security. But it's like I said, if we didn't have 24/7 security, it would be similar to what you see when you drive out 84 and when they let the tagging just get completely out of control.
Yep.
It would look just like that.
Oh, we gave them.
In a week if you didn't have security.
I remember the legislature gave them some money to clean it up. It just happened to be around campaign season, and then they cleaned it up. 2 days later, taggers came back in, and it's just a disaster again.
Well, and what kind of civilization do you have when there's a sign up that tells you where you're going, and somebody goes up there and spends 20 hours putting a piece of art over the top of it, and nobody does anything about it? How do you, I mean, as obviously I know, we tend to want to be incredibly law abiding and are just terrified if we did something that
Right.
could cause a police officer to come over and go, hey, what are you doing? Let alone arrest you. And how can we watch that and not do anything? I get a pit in my stomach when I look at things like that. I go, where, I mean, I go to other cities. I go to Chicago. I go to. I don't see that.
We went to Colonial Williamsburg in Virginia, and I remember just looking around. No graffiti.
Yeah.
The only graffiti I saw in actual Williamsburg itself, where Williams and Mary, the college was at, was what they would call slap tagging. They had stickers on the back of signs, just these little stickers, and that was it.
Well, yes.
And there was no, I mean, we saw one person panhandling. And basically there was a sign that says, don't feed the bears.
Right.
Okay, they come back. We don't want them here. And they enforced it. It's like clean, picked up. I'm like, how can we be so far different from the left coast to the right coast, right?
I'm sure you've been there, but you know, we've done a tremendous amount of work at the Port of Vancouver and along the waterfront there.
Yeah, it's beautiful over there.
It's ridiculously beautiful, and it looks like a real city.
Yeah.
And you know, Vancouver didn't used to be a place that a lot of people thought would be a great place to go.
Second largest city, isn't it?
Well,
You're getting close, right? In Vancouver.
It is.
Or in Washington, I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's getting there, and it's you know, it's a pleasure to go over there. I went over there and had lunch yesterday, and it was awesome. I didn't have to worry about getting my windshield broken. I didn't have to worry about getting accosted.
Or your car not being there when you're back, or something broken, right? And then I know they had Kaiser shipyards over there. I remember that, and they still had to build some ships over there along the waterfront. And
at one time, there were shipyards all along that waterfront, and then at the old Schnitzer,
the Liberty carriers that came
Liberty
out
ships.
Yeah, Liberty ships.
They
and
were
stuff.
putting out a Liberty ship a day.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive.
And you know, that's one of the things that's going on right now. The administration, the Defense Department is really focused on increasing shipbuilding capability because we're just falling
Woefully behind.
We're so far behind, it's crazy, and we can't even take care of the ships that we have in operation and maintain them, let alone add new things to the fleet. So at Gunderson, that's one of the areas that we're focused on. We're building a ship for the Navy right now, and we're bidding on several other ships, and we're really working on trying to increase our ability to build ships because, like I said, that one time they had 2,000 people working there.
Right.
We're at 350. I don't anticipate getting back to 2,000 people, but I think it's entirely possible that we could get back to 800 or 1,000. And you're not seeing. I don't know of another employer in the Portland metro area that's hiring that many industrial jobs that has the potential.
Fabrication and construction, right?
Yeah.
So if people don't know this when they listen to this, so as a police officer, I would go down on Swan Island. They had the longshoremen, you had dry docks, you had a whole thing of ship building, ship repair, all that down there. And I haven't been down there for years to see it, but there was a huge industrial complex of shipbuilding and things that were taken care of, not just for the war effort, but for the civilian side of it. And where's that stand at down there in Swan Island? I know you have Daimler Chrysler and you've got some other things down there, but is there much dry dock activity down there helping, fix ships and things like that?
No, there is.
Okay.
Vigor Corporation operates the shipyard at Swan Island now. They bought it, their predecessor bought it from the Port of Portland quite a few years ago. They just recently shifted their focus to 100% ship repair. And so they have the largest dry dock on the West Coast. So all the cruise ships, the Navy ships, the bigger ones, really have to go there. There's no other dry dock big enough. So the ship repair industry is huge down there. They were competing in like building bridges and building barges, similar to what Gunderson is doing now, but they pulled out of that because they want to focus on ship repair. So
it's a niche market. I mean, if there's not very many of them, if you're the only one in town, guess what?
Well, if you have the biggest dry dock,
yeah,
and every cruise ship has to go there, it's kind of a competitive advantage.
Right.
So
I remember, what was it? They're doing some stuff in the Arctic, some oil drilling, and they brought one of the ships in that was going to go.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it was drilling or what it was, but I remember the people that are against everything. It's the cave people, citizens virtually against anything, right? Or everything. They were suspending themselves from the St. John's Bridge,
right,
so the ship wouldn't pass underneath it, and it was a whole thing. Man, I get wanting to take care of the planet. I can understand that, but why are you messing with our commerce?
Well,
And it's just like, come on.
that's a sore spot for me because my window was looking at that. And
Oh, okay.
the mayor at the time, and I can't remember which mayor it was. We haven't had an effective one for a long time, but
It was either Adams or Vera Katz.
I think might have been, there was a policeman,
Oh, that was, Chief, or Tom Potter, yeah.
It might have been, I don't remember who it was, or it could have been, well, there was a Charlie that we used to work for the home builders, did it for a term. They allowed,
Hayes, Charlie Hayes?
Yes, Hales.
Hales, yeah, there we go.
They allowed those folks to take that bridge and they let them have it for, I don't know, 2 days. It took me like 6 hours to get home from Portland to West Lynn.
That was the dumbest decision in the world.
And we used to call it the, Cirque du Soleil Portland experience. Yeah. It's like it was, and like you say, it was just a big show. We're sitting here, right next to our office, the pipeline that comes from Seattle, where all of our oil and gas comes from, all of it. We don't have anything here, and we just store it, and then we rail it in and out, and we ship it on barges up into the Tri-Cities and up into Idaho. But it's like, what are you doing? I mean, you're hanging off the bridge because you don't want to see people go to work. You don't want to see people make a living. What is your alternative? I mean, and they all had REI outfits with the carabiners and the fancy gear.
What the gear they were using is really good safety gear. Because I watched them, I'm like, that's not cheap stuff.
No, and they had people lowering food down to them, and they were lowering milk jugs down to them so they could pee. And and we're sitting here like trying to work, and it wasn't too before that. They allowed the Occupy Portland people to take over in front of City Hall.
I was in the middle of that.
No, I bet you were.
I was in the middle of that. I got injured, thrown into a bus, and all. Yeah, I was in.
Were you there when they finally got him out of there?
Oh yeah, I was there too. I was down that one. I remember
that was one of the best police moves I've ever seen. That was pretty cool.
When Chief Reese, it's Chief Reese at the time, but when they said clear the parks and they weren't, and they started using tear gas. Once tear gas came out, it was like that was a thing. Couldn't put the genie back in the bottle, and that changed how crowd control techniques.
Yeah.
But when they finally cleared the two parks, Lonsdale and Chapman, it just destroyed those parks too.
Oh my gosh. That was
horrible.
It was, I walked through there, because I had to go to City Hall, and it was like Mad Max Thunderdome. I mean,
we used to call it the Thunderdome. One of the parks was like the Thunderdome. It's like, what are we doing here, people? Come on. This is a beautiful city. And I don't think people know this, but that elk that was there before the riots in 20, that elk, you had the big water trough there, and you had the small water troughs. You had that one there, and then you had one down by the Burnside Bridge. I can't remember the name of the fountain. Skidmore Fountain. And you had that one there. Well, the small water troughs, when I was on the Mounted Patrol Unit, that's where we used to go water our horses.
Right.
That was clean water in those small ones. That was not recycled like it was the other stuff. And people in there bathing. I'm like, oh my gosh, come on, people. It's just watching our city degrade and allow the politicians allowing social change happen through lack of enforcement, telling the police to stand down. It's horrible.
I've never, I've been in construction the whole time. But watching our law enforcement folks being abused like that, and not only being abused, but being expected to sit there and take blows, and if they try to defend themselves, all of a sudden they're the bad guy.
Yep.
That just still deeply affects me. I have a lot of respect for people that are willing to do that, and to treat them like that is just immoral, unethical, and so wrong. And the city politicians, surrendering that park. At one time, they wouldn't defend the ice building. They didn't want to defend the courthouse, our federal courthouse, named after Hatfield.
Let them take over.
They let them take over the bridge. Let them do this. Let them do that. During COVID, when everybody can't go anywhere, we're going to lay down on the bridge. And anyway,
No, you're a business owner. You have two businesses, and you're like, why are we letting the insane asylum run the streets, right? Because this is just some crazy stuff that's going on. And if the rest of the country has got it figured out, why can't we get it figured out here?
A lot of the country does have it figured out. I mean, I was back in Charlotte, North Carolina, week and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful city. You know, no, I didn't see, well, I shouldn't say, there was a little tiny bit of tagging, but it was very limited and it was very contained. I didn't see hardly any homeless people. I didn't see anybody wandering down the street screaming in agony, you know, shoot after they just shot up.
Yeah. You know, when you're core, the crown jewel of Oregon, I mean, we have beautiful places, but the city, you know, the city of being that has to be successful for Oregon. But when you let the city get to that point where people walk in and don't feel safe, and you've got major sporting events that don't want to come in because it doesn't look right, it's got bad vibes to it. And I remember them talking about 20,000 people left Multnomah County 2 years ago, and they took like $1.2 billion with them in tax revenue. And now all of a sudden the city's short on money. They got this big old boondoggle out in East Multnomah County that's in my part of the district with this water project that's $2.13 billion that could have been done at $105 million or so with the cryptosporidium stuff. It's asinine.
Well, you know, that one is another real sore spot for me because, you know, as a business owner, if there's any environmental issue, any regulation that is on the books or might be on the books, they enforce maximum enforcement. They'll run you out of business if you don't do whatever they tell you to do, whether it's required or not. If the regulator
It's like
wants
the mafia.
it is. So then the city of Portland's drinking water has no filtration. They're under orders from EPA to fix it. They delay until the cost gets to $2 billion. How hypocritical is that? I mean, this is our drinking water.
Right. And they
could have fixed it, like you said, for $150 or $200 million.
And they could have done it at Powell Butte, but they knew that neighborhood was going to lose their mind about another project. They're going to lose their pristine area to walk around in the neighborhood, and which it just infuriates me. There's that. But by the time they pay those bonds off and they're done in 30 years, it's going to be a $3+ billion project.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not making that number up because you got to pay interest on it. $100 million or something a year is what they're going to pay in interest. But those bonds.
You know, what kind of leaders say they're for the environment, but when it comes to our drinking water, keep asking for waivers and waivers and waivers to not do something that's common sense?
Oh, and here's something that gets me just so irritated. I am defending my people out there. It's a prime farm ground. They've ruined the ground. They dig these 30 feet pits, a couple football fields wide, and they pumping water out of the ground, but yet nobody's monitoring the water that's going out. They had the DEQ came in and said you have to move the soil because there's DDT and another chemical in there because that's what they used way back in the day. Well, they moved it off on somebody else's property. Then that water's sitting there going across that dirt that has bad stuff in it, running into Johnson Creek, going into somewhere else. But yet you have the city of Portland and the Water Bureau sitting there creating a 20,000 square foot facility, lunchroom, workout facility, meeting rooms. Is this a recruiting tool for the next Water Bureau people to go drive out in the country and go hang out in East Multnomah County and the nice, real area that's beautiful, but yet you have to work downtown Portland because the city created such just a mess?
Well, and
I'm sorry, my soapbox.
No, you're all right. My company did the rehabilitation of the Bull Run intake tower for this Water Bureau.
Right.
And, you know, the idea was to be able to take water at different elevations so that the temperature of the water that as it was let out of the reservoir would allow the fish to survive and be healthy. And so we did that. And, you know, when you're handed a jewel like the Bull Run water reservoir, which is the cleanest, best water resource in the country.
Mm-hmm. Those beavers are in it and they poop, right?
Well,
I'm saying that's a cryptosporidium, right?
Well, they do.
I know.
Yeah, then deer and everybody else. But they, you know, if you're a human, you'll get shot. But yeah. Anyway.
Or if you pee in the open reservoir, they have to drain the whole thing.
They do that. they do that too. But it's remarkable that when you're handed a resource like that and God gives you a gift like that, that you can screw it up and take a $150 million project and turn it into several billion. I mean,
that's the worst leadership in the world right there.
It is
horrible. And they let it happen. They kept having these meetings after meetings after meetings, and they let it kept going. And it's like, Would somebody make a decision, say this is a bad idea? Oh no, we're
Well-
going to make it. It's going to be a crown jewel. It's going to be the centerpiece of the nation.
Well,
Why?
I've gone down and testified, multiple times in front of the city council, and it's so dominated by leftists that if you go to testify and you say, I'm here, I own this business, the crowd starts booing you.
Yeah.
It's like, excuse me, I have I have 500 families who are counting on me to provide their livelihood. Okay.
Right.
I'm not here because I'm looking for some kind of handout. I just want to be treated like a human. I'm
You're not the enemy.
I'm not the enemy. And, I understand you have your issues, but we're human. Why would you boo me before I even say anything?
Yeah.
It's I don't know how you change that, but it's such an unpleasant experience. I understand why people don't want to testify. Who want to say something common sense?
Right. Oh, can't get back to basics, right? Oh, we can't have a committee to have a committee to have another. Come on, knock it off.
Yeah.
All right, I want to switch gears.
Okay.
And no pun intended, but we're going to talk ODOT.
Okay.
You're on the legislative committee for ACG,
AGC?
ACG, or Association of General Contractors,
Yes,
the
sir.
Oregon chapter, and you sit there, and ODOT's sideways. You got a $1.8 billion shortfall. They've got, I think it's in 23. You advocated for $1.2 billion for infrastructure upgrades. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep. Check my notes. Yeah. That was in 24, and then there's we have a $200 million shortfall for the biennium for maintenance. With our budget constraints and things like that, how is it working with ODOT? What's causing the problems for these projects to get so out of control price-wise? And how do we make sure we get ODOT functioning right, but yet not having to pay all these extra things? What's going on in ODOT when you see the bad side of ODOT where it just keeps dragging its feet or something?
It's I have a lot of experience with ODOT. Gunderson is working on the fabrication for the Abernathy Bridge right now. And in the past, I've worked on multiple ODOT projects, and there's a lot of really well-intentioned people inside the department that are
Great worker bees, yeah.
They're very dedicated. They want to do the right thing, but in my opinion, they kind of view contractors as the enemy instead of their partner in getting these projects done. And there are a lot of contractors who, given a choice, will work for other agencies or private and bypass working for ODOT because they don't get a fair shake. They don't get a fair shake. I mean, they don't get paid on time. If there's a change order or something that's required that requires them to request compensation and they're owed it, they get drug out. And it's impossible to put your fingers on exactly how much that costs because you don't have any way of proving it. But I think it's a huge part of the reason why they struggle. They struggle with that. There's, we do a lot of work for government. We do a lot of work for private. And we don't have that issue with the federal side, with the Corps of Engineers, with the Coast Guard, with the Navy, the Bureau of Reclamation, the Forest Service. They operate under federal acquisition regulations, and they view contractors in general as partners. And there's a set of rules that you have to meet, and they're very restrictive and they're very strict. But if you do what you are required to do, you get paid on time and you get treated fairly. And unfortunately, that's not been my experience with ODOT. It's a cultural thing. It's been there since I've been involved in it, which is, I think the first ODOT job I did was 35 years ago. It's gotten worse, not better. It's endemic. I don't understand why they don't understand or see that. I don't think they honestly believe they have a problem. I think they know they have a funding problem. I don't think they understand that they have a cultural problem with the way they just treat their contractors and the general public.
You know, we can talk about revenue, cost allocations, and increases, right? Those are, I think you hit a lot of that. If you could fix something in ODOT, just one thing, what would you say we got to fix? Yeah, I'm not going to give you customer service.
No.
That's an easy-
It's really, look, I've worked with a lot of different agencies, and the Corps of Engineers developed a program that was called partnering. So when a job started, like Bonneville Dam, when they redid Bonneville Dam, there was a colonel that was in charge of the Corps of Engineers, and the Corps had a huge problem with contractors and disputes and 10-year legal battles after a job was done, fighting over everything, and they realized it wasn't working, and so they implemented a program called partnering, where they would bring all the stakeholders in, and they would say, look, the contract is the contract, the requirements are the requirements, but let's just develop some relationships, understand what we're trying to do here, put the project ahead of your own personal interest, and trust that if the project's successful, we can all win.
Right.
The contractor will make money, the government will get what they paid for, the quality will be right, the schedule will be good, and if all those things happen, there's nothing but winners.
Right.
If we fight, there's going to be winners and losers, but in the end, nobody's happy if that's all we do is battle. And I think that's, if you can change that, you could quickly change the culture. And because I think the people there want to do a great job. I know they do.
Yeah, you're right. They do. It's just how do we get there, and how do you get through that bureaucracy that's just, well, we've always done it this way. We got to keep doing it this way because that's the way the bolt has to be turned on or whatever, right? I see that. All right, let's go. The construction industry is facing challenges.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's just talk about steel's gone up 15%.
Mm-hmm.
And the construction industry is facing, environmental regulations that put a hold on things or cost more to do business. And you got the Oregon Clean Water Act. What are, and those mandates that come out of the Clean Water Act mandate, but in tackling those issues through AAC,
yeah.
and Gunderson, how do you work through those issues to keep the projects moving forward?
Well, obviously, all the problems we've talked about here in Oregon and all the craziness that goes on and all the barriers that are put up, I'm a firm believer that, it's such a fantastic place to live that we have so many people here that are so thankful and blessed to live here that they will find a way to make things work, even with all those barriers. And I think that it's, a testament to the successes that do occur despite all the barriers and what's possible if we really just work together. And I look, I'm conservative. There's no secret about that, but I have lots of friends who are very liberal and have some ideas that I think are crazy, but you have to be able to talk and try to figure out a way to move the ball and not just go into your camp and pretend like you're doing something by only talking to people that you agree with.
Yeah, the sound chamber. That kind of goes back to what we talked about, the back to basic. Let's just have a conversation.
Yeah.
That's where I find my success and pragmatic as a police officer. Because when I knocked on your door, there was a problem. I didn't care about the politics. I didn't care about any of those things. Obviously, there's a violation of law usually when I was there, and somebody would end up in handcuffs. Hopefully, would not have to, but if you did, but how do we not come back? How do we solve a problem and move on to the next one? And that's where I see government failing. It just keeps, there's a problem. Here's another problem. Like, let's just fix the problem and move on.
Right.
So let's switch to workforce development. You have a scholarship foundation. I think you spent like $1.2 million so far on that. On that, why don't you walk me through what that is and how you're helping that workforce shortage?
Sure. Our company, Advanced American Construction, was founded by two gentlemen. One of them had a son, an only son, and he, back in 1999, died in a a construction accident at one of our projects. It's the only fatality that we've ever had.
That's big.
Well, and he was my mentor and my partner and my friend, and I was with him when we got the news, and it was probably the worst day of my life. Haven't seen a father lose his only son, and his whole life revolved around him, and finding out about it, and just the pain. It's unbearable. And so in an effort to have something positive come out of that, instead of wallowing in the grief and just, not accomplishing anything, that's not going to fix anything. So we started a scholarship fund, and we didn't know what we were doing. We just did it. And we reached out to people we did business with and other family and friends, and we got a ton of people that wanted to contribute, in any way they could. And we put the seed money in, but then we had lots of people that helped us. And so we started giving scholarships to people that were pursuing careers in the construction industry. And initially we started with people that were going to college. A lot of people that went to Oregon State or Washington State that were pursuing careers in construction or engineering. And then about 7 or 8 years ago, we started focusing on people that were in apprenticeship programs and trades and that were in the union trying to get into the construction industry. And so now we have about a 50-50 mix of people that we provide scholarships to, anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000. We also provide internships, and then we do hire some, and we have a whole bunch of other contractors who work with us that also contribute, and they provide internships and promote this. So we have a dinner coming up July 19th that we're going to have, and it's been 27 years now. So in 2023, we had Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs come to our event, and he has a scholarship program which is focused mainly on trades, not on college. He doesn't award them to people that are going to college, but we got a big bump from him coming out and promoting our program and being part of it. And so we're, it's honestly, when it's all said and done, 50 years from now, it'll still be around. And,
That's
there's
a good legacy.
Well, I'm really proud of it. And we have a lot of people who take a lot of pride in it. And we have, it's interesting because I had a gentleman, my best friend growing up's dad was a paving contractor, and he, I was getting ready to go to Oregon State, and I came from I was raised by a single mom. We had no money. I mean, we were on welfare. And so I was going to school, and I had put enough money away to pay for the first year at Oregon State by doing paper routes and picking berries and beans and
making sure you got your papers paid for.
Yeah, knocking on doors to get paid. And so he called me up out of the blue and said, "Hey, what are you doing? How are you doing this?" And I told him, and he goes, "What are you going to do if you get sick? What are you going to do if your car gets wrecked? How do you have?" I go, "Well, I have enough to pay for it." And he goes, "Yeah, but what if anything happens to you?" So he offered to pay my tuition, just unsolicited, for the first year. And so that made me so determined to be successful. When somebody does that for you, you can't fail, not unless you die trying. I mean,
paying it forward.
Yeah. And so that's a lot of what we do. And we find the same thing, that, a lot of people react that way. You give them a hand like that, you get them introduced into the industry, and
a hand up, not a hand
It's a hand up. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's right. And it's been really rewarding, and, it's there's so many people's lives have been changed by that. It's just amazing.
Yeah. And that goes back to when you go testify at the city of Portland, people don't know what you're doing for other people, getting them jobs and getting them into the workforce, actually not getting into debt, not having all these hurdles for people to actually have a true living wage job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the frustration I think, business owners see here, because they just keep getting hammered with all these taxes. And not that you're looking for attaboys and things like that. It was like, would you just leave me alone? Because it feels like you're picking on me because I'm successful and I'm helping people.
Well, it's
When
true.
it
I
comes to
mean,
taxing, right?
there's nothing more galling to me when I hear leftists say, we just want you to pay your fair share. I'm like, there's 500 families that make a living. They pay their taxes. They pay every fee that you put on them. They pay through the work they do for us.
Mm-hmm.
We pay through the teeth. We pay the highest marginal rate in the country. What is your fair share? I mean, is it 95%? Is it what?
And it's like that force multiplier effect, right? You have your business, then you have another businesses that help your business. Some people, I don't think they understand economics. Let's transition to Gunderson a little bit.
Okay.
You, if I'm wrong, correct me, but you have tugboats and you have
Yes.
wind energy. You're doing some green stuff. Are you making an electric tugboat?
We're not right now.
Okay.
We have looked at making some, but to be honest with you, it's an interesting topic because in Oregon, the war on fossil fuels continues. I mean, there's all kinds of
Oh yeah, it's not stopping anytime.
Oh no,
soon.
it's not even close to stopping. And so if you look at marine transportation, ships, barges, tugs, and then also railroad trains, virtually 100% is powered by diesel.
Mhm.
100%. It's not 95, it's 100. And the people that are naive enough to think that there's a better solution that's available to us right now are out of their minds. It's not true. It's commercial and government and everybody else has tried almost everything that's being talked about now. Electric cars have been around for 100 years.
They had one in the Wham Museum in Hood River. It was in the early 1900s.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not a new idea. The idea of using biodiesel is not a new idea. But the guy who invented the diesel engine tried it, and he just couldn't get enough agricultural products to generate it to make it work. And so, this. So, I mean, in a roundabout way, I'm not all that excited about building electric tugs because the only reason that they're being built is because they're being subsidized by people who are trying to steer the market. And I'm a huge believer in the market will build what makes sense.
Right. Just like the clean diesel trucks, right? That whole thing that we got, DEQ is like, well, we probably shouldn't do that now, right? Because there's not the infrastructure there. It's just not going to work. Let's shift gears from that because we can talk all day long about green energy and it's good if it works. But the regulatory environment often makes businesses less effective, less efficient, and permitting delays, environmental compliance. Based on your experience, what can we do as a legislator or local government do to cut some red tape to make your job easier? To build stuff, right? Just get out and help the construction industry because we got to build things. Get Oregon back to work.
Consider doing things that basically, as you described earlier, just get out of the way. Quit adding regulation. Quit burdening us. Quit giving us more rules to follow. Constantly coming up with new ideas to make it more difficult. We're perfectly capable of solving problems, and we don't need somebody to subsidize us. We just need somebody to quit looking at us as a cash register and just respect and honor the people that bust their ass and make the government work. They're the people that do the jobs, that get their hands dirty, that keep our houses running, keep our plumbing working, keeping our electrical working, making our roads work, building bridges, picking up the garbage. They're all incredibly important, and they're just not given any credit for being good citizens. It's insane to me. It's like if you're not doing something that is subsidized by the government, somehow you're the enemy. I don't understand how we've got to this place.
Yeah. You've advocated for, infrastructure, building workforce through scholarships and, cutting red tape in Oregon. What's your overall vision to kind of get us back on track in the industry for, construction and making in Oregon to support our communities and our economy?
Well, what's happening on the federal level, I'm incredibly excited about. The kind of similar to what you're talking about with back to basics, it feels to me like the pendulum swinging on a federal level. If there's just some pendulum swinging towards more common sense and back to basics, it could ignite an explosion in economic growth here. The Superfund is a classic example of government mismanagement, waste, abuse, stupidity. We have a Superfund. 25 years of attorneys and consultants talking about it, and we haven't done shit. Yeah. I mean, we haven't accomplished anything except made a bunch of, attorneys and consultants rich. Why don't we figure out it needs to be cleaned up? Let's clean it up so that it can be the proper. We have vast tracts of property all up and down the river, all up and down the Willamette, not so much on the Columbia, that is not being able to be used because they can't finance
Overlook
it.
Park, look down, you got the old tie plant down there. That's just a huge Superfund site that they burned up long ago.
It is. And then, just below that's where the University of Portland's going to put their athletic fields, I think. Anyway, there's huge amounts of property that is not being utilized because of the Superfund liability. Banks won't lend on it. My company built our property under the St. John's Bridge back and moved into it in 2006. And to my knowledge, there hasn't been any other major development on the Willamette River.
Is that a glass building down there? I'm trying to remember because I used to patrol when St. John's had its full precinct there north.
Well, I think you're thinking of on the St. John's side.
Okay,
the Bureau of Environmental.
Oh, okay. I know you're.
We're directly underneath the St. John's Bridge on the Linton side.
Okay, all right.
And so, it's a site that's got a ton of history. It was the contractor's yard when the St. John's Bridge was built back and opened in 31.
Yeah, and it's that old train station that's down there. You see, it's pictures of the shadows. It looks like an old ghost town that sits there, kind of just down river or upriver from the St. John's Bridge.
They tore that down.
Did they tear that? That was a cool looking structure.
It was it looked like a haunted house kind of. Yeah. They tore that down and they put in a filtration plant that it's the old Northwest Natural Gas site, and it's incredibly polluted, and so they filter the groundwater. They filter the groundwater through this massive building to try to clean up the pollution there, and it gets better every year, but it's still it's going to be a long time before it's cleaned up.
Yeah. Dee, I want to thank you for being on the show. You've got a lot of good stuff. Is there anything you want to leave with our listeners and one last little nugget?
No, I think I've really enjoyed the conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time to invite me and allowing me to have a conversation with you. I don't know if any agency will hire me after this, but
just don't have your name on the RFP. Somebody else's name on it.
Right. I'll go, I don't know who that guy was. We fired him.
He's long gone. I don't know. He retired. All right. Dee, thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Back to basics. You got to hear from Dee Burch, Advanced American Construction, Gunderson Marine, all kinds of good stuff to nuggets to take out of this. But I look forward to seeing you guys again. Dee, again, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Jeff.